Bill collector Sean Cutts is suing his brother, 24-year-old personal trainer Donald Cutts, for kicking his car during an argument. Donald admits he slapped Sean, but denies kicking his car.
What's your first name?
Sean.
And yours?
Donald.
And your brother's?
Correct.
You had a girlfriend. This is the girlfriend.
Correct.
She says that she had some sort of words with your brother. You went over there to straighten it out.
Correct.
And it is your claim that he kicked your car and dented it.
Correct.
He says he hit you, but he didn't hit your car. Who do you live with?
I live on my own now.
At the time of this incident?
I lived with my mother.
And you?
With my mother also.
So after this incident, you moved out?
That's correct.
Okay. Let's see if we can resolve this and make it nice. Okay, when did this happen?
On April 8th of 2003.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Teresa Smith.
Teresa, tell me what you told Sean in April of 2003.
Okay, well, Sean kept on calling the house like 2 or 3 times, and Donald got mad because I think he was waiting for a phone call from his girlfriend or something. And he got mad and he got in my face, started yelling at me, and
So Sean was out of the house?
Yeah, he was at work.
And you were at home?
Yeah.
You were living with them at the time?
Yes, I was.
With the 2 boys and their mother?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
And so Donald got annoyed because Sean called, you were talking to him on the phone, and Donald was waiting for a phone call.
Yeah.
He got in your face and said what?
He was calling me the B word, telling me...
Saying nasty things to you?
Yeah, basically.
So you called Sean and told him?
Oh, well, I left the house. I left down the street to go call the police first, and then Sean.
Why the police?
Because he got in my face. I thought, you know, he raised his hand to me, so I thought he was going to hit me.
He did raise his hand?
Yes, he did.
Sean Cutts says his brother Donald Cutts kicked his car during an argument. Sean says he was confronting Donald because he yelled at his girlfriend.
Go ahead.
And so I left the house and I called the police, and then after I called the police, I called Sean to let him know what was going on.
And he came home?
And he came home, yes.
What happened when you came home, Sean?
I went down the street where she was in front of Big Lots, the payphone. Got her story of what happened. Went up to the house to find out what went on with my brother. We then got in an argument.
Who got into an argument?
Me and my brother. Started arguing in the front yard.
Tell me about the argument.
Basically, just asking him, you know, why are you getting in Teresa's face and why are you getting upset because I'm calling and so on and so forth.
What did he say? What was his response?
I really don't know. It was just yelling and screaming. It was just kind of an argument.
Okay. And then what happened?
We just kept arguing. He slapped me. I got in my car to drive away, and he kicked my car. And I drove off and went down the street to report to the police.
I'm listening.
Okay. The argument started on April 8th. I was waiting for a phone call that day. However, when my brother did call and Teresa did speak to him, I was in the middle of an important phone call with my fiance, and he tends to call for no apparent reason, anything that has to do with any importance at all. And
so your conversation with your fiance was important, and he was just calling to say hi.
That's correct, I assume.
But you weren't speaking to your fiance on the phone when he called?
Yes, I was. I answered the call waiting.
Well, if you answered the call waiting, then you would say call back.
Yeah, he said it was important, and so I let him speak to her.
Well, that happened once.
Yes.
And then?
Well, they tend to talk just to say hi and see how everybody's doing. And
Each other.
Okay, well, they talk.
That's what they do when they have nothing else to do.
Okay, well, they were talking and...
About, to you, nonsense. When you were talking to your fiance, somebody else might listen to it and say, that's nonsense.
Yes.
Okay, so you were being judgmental. Your nonsense was more important than their nonsense.
Well,
Donald,
yes.
Your nonsense was more important than their nonsense. I want to know why you got in her face.
I did not get into her face. She overheard me from what I was saying to my mom about their situation and talking. I had to get off the phone. At that time, she started saying things in the other room.
Like what? Saying things to who?
Just mouthing off about the situation to me and my mom, just to let herself be heard. Then after that, it kind of escalated. I said something back, and we ended up just in a yelling match. Then I kept on telling her to get out of my face, get out of my face. Then she said she was going to call the cops and go down the street. And at that time, my brother came back up to the house, And he said the cops were called, and why'd I get in his girlfriend's face? And I said this, we were both arguing and we were screaming at each other. And he said, well, you're going to jail, you're going to jail. He left the house and started to walk out. Well, he started mouthing off to me, so I walked out with him. He said some unpleasant things about my fiance, and so I went and slapped him when he was in his car. I just tapped him basically on his face because he made me mad. So at that time, he left, and I was proceeding to gather up my things to go over to my friend's house.
So you're saying at that point, yeah, you did nothing else. You didn't kick his car.
No, I didn't.
Can I see the pictures, please?
Yes.
How come you're not complaining about him hitting you?
Oh, I mean, he at least didn't punch me.
When did you take these photographs?
Right after the incident, when the cops pulled up.
Well, you may not have understood it, sir, but you kicked his car. As I'm looking at this car, and there's only one big, huge footprint on it. I mean, it's not the kind of car that's all banged up. That's it. One huge, big footprint. Let me see the estimate.
I chose the...
Did your mother ask you to leave the house, or did you decide to leave on your own?
She asked me to leave as well.
Okay. All right, you have one estimate for $405. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
Have you always not gotten along, or is this just a recent thing?
Just a little fights every now and then, brotherly, you know, family things.
Have you spoken to each other since April?
No, ma'am.
Listen, you can let it go on longer. It's over. Going to get the $405. Going to fix your car. You getting married? You have the same fiancé, or is that?
Yes,
over?
I do.
You getting married soon?
Hopefully.
Okay. Why don't you just shake hands and make me feel better? Okay, good. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 359 on the calendar in the matter of Chancellor versus Chancellor. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Cassie, this is your dad.
Right.
You're 18 now?
Yeah.
You've been working for a long time, working at a restaurant for a long time, and according to your complaint, your dad's been holding your money, putting it in a bank account, and the understanding was when you turned 18, the money would be yours.
Right.
Turned 18, and lo and behold, Dad says that you're not mature enough to take responsibility for that kind of money. So I assume you think that I'm going to be able to resolve this for you.
I hope so.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
You have evidence of that bank account?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? How old were you when you started to work, Cassie?
I was 16.
And how many days a week did you work?
During the summers, I worked full-time, and usually 2 to 3 during school.
And how much of your paycheck would you turn over to your dad?
Almost all of it except for about $20, $40 a week.
What happened when you turned 18?
I was told that I would get it at graduation, which was 2 weeks later, so I wasn't too worried about
Graduation from high school.
it. Right.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
So graduation comes, and I asked my stepmom, because it was in my stepmom's name, and she told me that she had changed it into my father's name only.
Are you living at home?
I live with my mother now.
And how did that come about?
I moved in with my dad, finished high school, and I always wanted to move back. So
Do they live in the same town?
No.
Okay, so what's left in this bank account, which is all hers, is that right?
That's right.
Is $6,099.48?
Not now. There's only like 5,700.
Where did the rest of the money go?
I gave it to her.
He slowly gave me money, $100 here, $200 to pay my ex-boyfriend back.
So, I'll hear you.
She came to live with. I was divorced, and her mother had her come live with me after she started skipping school and couldn't control her anymore. So we took her in, and she started school. And then I told her before summer came, I wanted her to get a job so she could.
That's when she was 16.
16.
And she did do that.
She did do that.
And for an 18-year-old young lady to be able to accumulate $6,000 by the time she's 18 is quite impressive.
Yeah. Well.
And graduate from high school?
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing now?
I'm just starting a job at Bimart.
Any desire to go on with your education?
Yeah, I definitely want to. Money's been a problem doing that. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do, but definitely.
Go ahead.
So after she moved in, she started saving money, and meanwhile we'd been having a lot of troubles with skipping school, and it wasn't her name originally. And then she started taking some out and started spending it foolishly. We'd went some family counseling, and he'd suggested that she would be a potential for a runaway with that much money. And we didn't want her, we wanted her to finish high school. And
well, she did
graduate.
that. So
Yes,
she did that. She finished high school, and she's 18 years old.
But, that's not the whole story. I mean, it came down to graduation. We heard the rumor that she was going to go to Mexico with her money. When she got her money, she was going to Mexico, and they were going to spend it all.
Who's they?
Well,
She and her boyfriend? Is this your boyfriend?
Right.
Yeah.
She and her boyfriend?
yeah.
Okay.
They were sneaking around together, and we, against this boy has got another girl pregnant, and he's going with my daughter.
Is that right, sir?
Yes,
And I didn't think too much
How
of
old
that.
are you?
20.
You have a child already?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is that child?
1 year and 2 months.
Is that your only child?
Yes.
Where do you work?
I work in construction.
You're living at home with your mother?
Yeah.
You think he's a good risk?
He's not with her.
I mean, you
and
think he's a good risk for you?
yeah, he's a very nice guy and takes very good care of me.
Okay. Listen, how many times have you been married?
This is my second marriage.
So you made one mistake?
That's right.
And how old were you when you made that mistake?
19.
Did you turn out okay?
Now I am.
Okay. You have a nice wife?
Yes.
You were responsible with your daughter?
Always.
What I'm telling you is, not only does the law say that you have to let go, but she's going to make her own mistakes whether you like it or not. And the law says that you can't hold on to this money. She's 18. It's her money. There's no issue with regard to the fact that it's her money. And you can only hope that she's smart enough to know how long it took her to accumulate this money. And if she lends any of it to him, she's a big idiot.
Actually, he let me.
But I know that. I read he lent you money to buy a car and you have to pay him back. What I'm telling you is, if you give anybody any money of this hard-earned money except for tuition, except to a school, you're an idiot. But there comes a point when you have to say, is she going to be smarter when she's 20? Is she going to be smarter when she's 19? Is she going to be smarter when she's 25? Is this your oldest child?
No, it's my youngest.
How old is your oldest?
35 and 36.
Okay, 35-year-old. Boy or a girl?
Boy.
Married?
No.
Ever been married?
Yep.
How old was he when he got married?
He was like 23.
Did he make a mistake when he was 23?
Yes, he did.
There you go. My question to you is, sir, how long do you have sticky fingers? And you made a mistake when you were 19.
Right.
Your son made a mistake when he was 23. At least one. You have another child who's 36?
Mm-hmm.
Married?
He is at the present. He's in the process of divorce.
First or second?
First.
Okay, how old was he when he got married?
27 or 8.
So you had a 23-year-old who made a mistake. You have a 27 or 28-year-old who made a mistake. You never can tell. You never can tell. He made a mistake when he was 17. Maybe he'll shape up. Maybe. I don't know. You never can tell. But I know one thing for certain, that within 48 hours, this bank account has to be transferred to your daughter. Okay. And do you want to meet your dad at the bank to do that?
That's fine.
When do you want to go there with your daughter?
Sunday or Monday.
Well, you can't go Sunday because the bank's closed Sunday. I know that would be a good day for you to go, but you can't go Sunday. Monday?
Yeah, that'd be
Monday. Monday morning, 9 o'clock. You meet your father, you go for breakfast, and you go to the bank, and the bank will transfer the account to your name. I will prepare the order. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He told me that the reason that he wouldn't give me the money is because of my Mexican boyfriend. He's very prejudiced.
I mean, when somebody's got another girlfriend and stringing 2 boys along at once, 2 girls. 2 girls.
He's never even talked to him or met him.
I don't want my daughter around somebody like that.
He doesn't know.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stanton versus Jeske Gallagher. Step forward, please.
Real estate investor Michael Stanton is suing his former tenants, 22-year-old Sarah Jeske and 21-year-old Heather Gallagher, for unpaid rent and damage to their apartment. Sarah and Heather are countersuing for the return of rent and their security deposit.
Mr. Stanton,
Yes, ma'am.
according to what I've read, you rented an apartment to these 2 young ladies.
Yes.
When did you rent the apartment to them?
I rented it on September 1st, 2002.
And they signed a lease?
Yes, ma'am, they did.
What was the duration of that lease?
1 year.
It seems that one of these young ladies moved out. The girls had a falling out. One young lady moved out. Who moved out?
I did, Your Honor.
What's your last name?
Gallagher.
When did you move out, Miss Gallagher?
January 1st.
Did you make arrangements with Mr. Stanton before you moved out?
I tried to get a hold of him, and I could not get a hold of him.
So the answer is no?
No.
Your lawsuit, Mr. Stanton, seeks rent for 1 month
Yes, ma'am.
because you managed to re-rent the apartment. So it's February's rent that you want. And they want their security deposit back. You want some damages.
Exactly.
Money for damages that were done to the apartment. All right. When Miss Gallagher moved out, I gather, Mr. Stanton, that you had confidence that you were going to be able to re-rent the apartment because you were more than willing to have her move into a one-bedroom.
I had confidence that I could re-rent their apartment because it was so nice.
Right.
Correct.
So he was being very nice to you. Right?
Yes. No. Well,
yes, he was.
He wasn't letting us out of it.
Sure he was.
I had talked to him, and he said that he would let me out of the lease if I paid that month's rent, and he would not take me to court.
That's letting you out of your lease, Miss Gallagher.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I moved out because he opened up my bedroom door when I was sleeping, and I felt unsafe.
They didn't come to rape and pillage in your apartment, madam, because they saw you in your bed and they left.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Stanton claims former tenants Sarah Jeske and Heather Gallagher owe for rent and damage to their apartment. The women say Michael entered their home while they were sleeping.
He has the ability to sue you until August 31st. He just wants the 1 month that he's out. Now you got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Jeske says, oh, that Mr. Stanton, you did a terrible thing. I'm going to let you tell me what he did because you're counterclaiming for January's rent, for the return of your security deposit, and for your emotional distress. Mm-hmm. Why don't you let me have it all at one time?
Okay. I was laying in my bed, and first the phone rang.
When was this?
The day I called the cops on him, 4th of January or February.
Well, it was so traumatic, I would assume you would remember the date.
Yeah, it was February 4th, Your Honor.
On February the 4th, you were still in the apartment?
Yes.
Had you paid February's rent?
No, not yet.
What were you doing staying in the apartment if you hadn't paid the rent?
Because I was totally in debt, so...
What's that his problem if you're totally in debt?
I know, and he does, and I was going to pay him his late charge and everything.
All right, so you're laying in bed on February 4th and you hadn't paid the rent. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. He must have called or something. I'm not sure if it was him. He says it was him.
What do you mean he must have called? I don't understand that, Miss Chester.
Okay, I went to answer my phone. It was like around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Was it on a business day?
Yes. And I went to answer the phone, and of course, like, he hung up before I got to it, so I went back to bed because I don't go to bed until like really late. And then I heard the door, someone knock on the door, but where my bedroom is, I don't know if it's a lady next to me or my apartment. And I wasn't going to get up, you know. Then I heard my door unlock to my apartment, so I just stayed in bed because I was in my pajamas. And then after that, I just see my door open, and he was there. Then I heard him leaving with a guy who he was in with, saying, "Oh, she's sleeping." So I moved out because he opened up my bedroom door when I was sleeping.
Yes, ma'am.
I moved out because he opened up my bedroom door when I was sleeping, and I felt unsafe.
Well, what did you think he came there to do to you?
I have no idea.
Do you think he was coming? You think he was showing the apartment to somebody?
No.
Well, what do you think he was doing?
I don't know what he was doing.
You don't know. You know that he called you, right?
Yeah, because he told me.
You know that he knocked at the door, so he wasn't trying to scare you. You just decided it was too much trouble to get out of bed.
No.
That's exactly what you told me just a moment ago, that it was too much trouble to get out of bed.
I wasn't sure if it was mine or his.
Well, if you're not sure whether the door is yours or your next door neighbor's, then you get out of bed to see. Right?
Well, yeah, but I wasn't inspecting no one.
Your Honor, may I?
Mr. Stanton, you want to tell me why you went into the apartment, please?
Yes, ma'am. What I did is both girls gave me permission to show the apartment. So my agreement was I'd call. If they weren't home, they gave me permission to go in. One thing they're incorrect about is that their phone was turned off. There is no phone. And in New York State, when the phone is turned off and you call, it'll ring and ring and ring, giving no indication of whether or not the phone is on or off. So I called, the phone rang, so I knocked. Nobody answered. I went in, showed the apartment to the gentleman. When I left, she came out and said, what's going on? And I said, I showed your apartment. Is that okay? And she said, that's fine.
She came out at that moment?
She came out after I was walking down the hallway. And she also said, I apologize, our phone is turned off for non-payment.
No.
Yes,
No, she wouldn't have said that.
She did.
No, I wouldn't. No,
That's exactly what she said verbatim.
Hey, whatever it
He
was,
said he
whether it
heard
was
my
turned
phone
off
ring.
or not, Mr. Stanton, she didn't answer the phone. She didn't answer the phone, and she didn't come to the door. Now, this is relevant because if you counterclaim is a lot of hogwash. Hogwash. So after this happened, you called your father and you said, I don't feel safe here, I want to move. So he came and he moved. This whole thing is about you owing February's rent. I'm not interested in your emotional distress over him showing your apartment.
He already had my apartment rented out to this John.
Maybe he wanted to look at it again. Maybe he wanted to see where his furniture was going to go. What difference does it make? They didn't come to rape and pillage in your apartment, madam, because they saw you in your bed and they left. Closed the door, and according to you, he said, oh, she's sleeping, which means he didn't want to disturb you and closed your door. That's what you just said to me.
May I speak? It's still not right, though, for people just to walk in your apartment, you know.
You weren't even there.
I know. No, this had happened beforehand.
Just a second. You weren't even there.
When I was still living there, though, the maintenance people had walked in, and we had spoken to the manager at the
Did you
time
go
about
home
that.
to live with your parents?
No.
You should, until you grow up.
They did.
Until you grow up, you should both go home to live with your parents and start acting responsibly. You sign a lease for a year, you stay there. And if you don't get along, Miss Gallagher, and if you want to move out, the first thing that you do is you call the landlord and say, I want to make some arrangements with you. I want to move out of the apartment. Is there some way we could do that? Not, I tried to call him and I couldn't get him in. And you left anyway. That's not what a grown-up does. Let me see the damage to the apartment.
What I have here, Your Honor, is pictures of the apartment before I restored it, and also a picture of the broken tub, as well as a picture of damage to the brand new refrigerator. I'm only suing for partial damage to the refrigerator because the refrigerator is fully operational. It's just damaged. The tub is destroyed. How they broke the tub, I have no idea. And I have also, Your Honor, the lease right here from them showing a move-in, move-out form that shows no damage to the apartment.
Okay. Who's going to explain to me how this damage occurred to the bathtub?
We didn't even know there was damage. We have a...
I have a tenant checklist from the manager at the time stating that there was no damage when I moved out.
When you moved out, so well, let me see that.
That is fabricated, Your Honor. There is no such thing. I'm the only one who has those forms.
No, he's...
How they got those forms, I have no idea.
Well, who signed this?
John. He was a
tenant of
manager
mine.
at the time.
A tenant of mine in training to be a manager.
No, he was a manager.
Just a
He
second.
was in training.
Is that why you
Listen to me, Mr. Stanton. Let's
Yes,
not
ma'am.
play around with each other, sir.
Yes.
Because I am an ecumenical abuser.
Okay.
If someone is in training to be a manager, that means that they are your employee, right?
Yes.
Yes. They say that John gave them this checklist, which says that there was only some chip paint.
How do I know that is something they fabricated? How do I know that?
How do listen to me?
Because
How do I
John
know,
never told me about
listen
that.
to me.
Yes.
How do I know these pictures aren't fabricated?
They're photos.
Of what?
Of the tub? Before
Maybe
and
it's not.
and
Just a
afterwards.
second. Just a sec, sir. Bird, can you tell me what that's a picture of?
It's a picture of a crack.
Can you tell what it's a crack of?
No, I can't.
Could it
That's
be
why
a
we got the
crack-
new photos.
Just a second. Could it be in a crack in a wall? Could it be a crack in apartment 604 or 203 or 701? You don't know, right?
I don't know.
You know, Mr. Stanton. Mr. Stanton. You're entitled to certain things, sir, and certain things I had to.
I can't fabricate a photo.
I didn't say you fabricated a photo, sir. I don't know what it's a photograph of. $5.95 was the rent?
$5.95 and a $50 late fee, and the fridge was $75.
You're going to take all that out of their security deposit, sir. From them, you're going to get $5.95, which was February's rent, because Miss Jeske was still living there. According to her, she had a lot of bills, but she was still there February
I paid
1st,
him.
2nd, 3rd, and laying in bed on the 4th.
I paid him $200 for February's rent.
Oh, let me see.
It's written down.
Good.
My mom signed it over. to
That's
him.
January rent, Your Honor.
No,
Hold on.
No,
You were supposed to pay him $300 for,
half of my month's rent for January, and she paid $350
and you paid January's rent, and $200
for
for
half of February's rent because I was supposed to be in the new apartment.
I don't know why that is.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $395. Your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 328 on the calendar in the matter of Saucedo Estrada versus Castro. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
You claim that the defendant had you falsely arrested.
Correct.
Falsely arrested for either a burglary or a trespass. Ms. Castro says that she was convinced that you were trying to burglarize a neighbor's house. That's why she called the police.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with you. When did you allegedly witness this attempted burglary?
It was July 27th at about 2 a.m. in the morning. I was doing some studying and I walked in the backyard of my family's home to smoke a cigarette. I witnessed the plaintiff and her boyfriend. He actually had the door open to the other next door neighbor's garage. He actually was already going to step in. She was acting as a lookout on the right-hand side.
And there's no question in your mind that that's what you saw?
No question whatsoever.
How do you know them?
They're neighbors. See, Your Honor, we live in a small triplex. My family lives in the middle. There's a neighbor in the front, and then they live in the back. Since December of last year, we've had repeated problems with them as a result of one time my mom asked for them to move their car, blocking the front of my mom's garage. Since then, the plaintiff and her boyfriend have engaged in all kinds of terrorist threats. I have reports from the police. We've had to call several times. She's threatened to strangle the next door neighbor when she was 7 months pregnant. She threatened to kill me, my mother, and my 12-year-old sister with a bat. I attempted to get a restraining order.
And what happened?
The judge didn't grant it based on the fact that she's a next door neighbor. So she said that basically what would have to happen is that someone would have to move. So she's recently been evicted from the owner as a result of all these problems. And, you know, I know that she's trying to say...
Just one second. Okay. You answered my question.
Okay.
7/27.
Right. No, actually, the incident with the garage began...
No.
December of last year.
7/27 is when this incident happened, when
Right.
you allegedly saw them out trying to get into somebody else's garage. You called the police?
Yes, I did.
Police arrived?
Yes, they did.
Okay. What did you do?
I let them know what was happening, and at that point, maybe 5 minutes went by and they apprehended them. They asked
Where?
if I could ID them. They were apparently trying to get into their car around the block.
Is that right?
No.
Where did the police find you?
I was at the corner. He had dropped me off at a corner. He had went back to the house.
Just a second. He dropped you off at the corner.
For the fact that we didn't make no contact, because we knew something was up. We noticed that she was banging on this garage. She was kicking it. She woke up her 12-year-old sister and mentioned to her, make sure you say this and make sure you say that. The 12-year-old sister was barely waking up. We noticed she was banging on the door, so we left the house for the fact, so we didn't have any problems with her. So we left to my mother's.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is you got up 2 o'clock in the morning and you heard somebody banging on?
No, we had just arrived when we noticed that she was out there.
Just arrived from where?
From my mother's house, from a party. We had just got home from a party at around that time.
About 2 o'clock in the morning, you got home from a party.
Correct.
And you went to pull your car into where?
We didn't put our car nowhere. We parked it in the streets at that time.
How far away? A block, half a block, 2 blocks?
Like about a block.
1 block away. Just speak now. Don't show me a picture. I'm going to answer my question. You were walking back to the house with Mr. Estrada. And is that when you saw Miss Castro?
No.
When did you see Miss Castro?
When we entered in our house.
And you were together?
Correct.
I thought you just told me that Mr. Estrada dropped you off at the corner.
That was after we left the house.
Now you're in the house.
Right.
And you see Miss Castro outside, kicking in the garage.
Not at that time.
What was she doing?
She was actually at her front mother's porch, smoking a cigarette. She noticed that we were entering our house. So at that time, there was a whistle, which his friend was waiting for him because he was going to ask him for a ride.
What do you mean his friend was waiting for him?
Yeah, he was whistling because he wanted a ride from him.
So a friend of his came from where?
From the alley, from this.
A friend of his comes from an alley, 2 o'clock in the morning, and whistles for your boyfriend.
Correct.
Because he wants a ride to where?
Back home.
How do you know that?
Well, because he doesn't live in Long Beach.
You clairvoyant? You mean you know what he wants when he's whistling? Did he whistle in the tune of, I want somebody to give me a ride home?
I mean, pretty much we knew. I mean, he maybe wanted a ride, back home.
because he was there for the weekend.
Where for the weekend?
In Long Beach, and he lived in Torrance.
Keep going.
He came out, and at that time, Norma was right. As soon as he left the house to go open the gate, which is this gate, in order for you to gain access to you need a key. So since he was outside this gate, he was going to go open it. He had told him to wait.
What was he going to open the gate for?
Oh, well, to tell him, to hold on, so he was going to leave, with him to go give him a ride. So at that time, Norma Castro was like right behind him. I was in the house. I was seeing that she was like right behind him, to see what he was trying to do or something.
Sounds right.
And so then
sounds right to me.
So then,
somebody comes in an alleyway whistling at 2 o'clock in the morning. Somebody's going out to open up a gate with a key. Would seem to me a good tenant who was out there, vigilant tenant, would watch and say, what's going on here?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The Whistler doesn't make any sense. The trip to Torrance doesn't make any sense. The leaving your house in the middle of the night doesn't make any sense. And if it doesn't make any sense, it's not true.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Priscilla Saucedo and her boyfriend, Daniel Estrada, claim neighbor Norma Castro had them falsely arrested. Norma says she caught them red-handed trying to break into a neighbor's garage.
Go ahead, keep going.
So then he opens the gate, so he came back to let me know that he wasn't, take him.
Just a second. So he came back and he said, I'm going to give Whistler a ride home. Right?
Right.
And he came back to tell you that.
Right.
And he left.
He left after I stayed in there to putting on my pajamas.
He left. Keep going.
So after that, so I was ready to go to sleep at that time because I was just getting home. So I, throw on my pajamas, and I noticed that she was out there banging. I just heard like some hard bang.
So she's banging. Go
she's
ahead.
banging on something. So I just staring at her to see what she was doing. So then after that, like when he came back, I told him.
How long did it take him to get to where he was going?
Maybe about 45 minutes.
Was it within the first 5 minutes that you saw her banging on the garage?
Oh, no, it was like maybe right after he came back. Because she was smoking a cigarette.
Gets better every minute. It's a long, it must have been a very long cigarette. So
well, yeah,
right after
she smoked cigarettes after cigarettes.
Listen
if you would see my yard.
Just a second. So now it's after he came back. So he comes back from driving the Whistler.
No.
And is that when you hear her banging?
No, she was up and down walking, smoking cigarettes.
I'm asking you when you saw her banging.
Right, after that.
Where was he?
He had already arrived home. At the time when he was gone, I noticed her suspicious.
So now he's home, and she's suspicious.
Right, and I mentioned that to him.
And you mentioned that to him. And so what happened?
So after that, I told him, let's just go back to, back to my mom's, where we were gonna spend the night because the fact that we didn't want no trouble with her, and the fact that
Just a second, you're in your pajamas. You were going to bed.
Right.
So
correct.
now why are you getting out of your pajamas?
Well, actually, I just threw on my shoes, and I actually took off.
Who lives in the house where you were that night?
Oh, me and him and my kids. My kids weren't present at that time. They were at my mom's house.
Listen to me. So it's just the two of you.
Right.
So you say to
Daniel,
we're going to go over to my mom's where the kids are, and you throw your shoes on and you throw a shirt over your pajamas. Then what happens?
So we left, and after that she was...
No. You both walk out together?
Right. We walked out.
Don't put your pictures down. You both walked out together. Daniel, where had you parked the car?
Right there, as soon as you come out of the alley. Right there, like half
You found a parking space?
Yes.
A legal parking space?
Yes.
Good, so it was closer than the one you had before, is that right?
That's right.
The one you had before was a block away.
Yes.
This was a half a block away.
Yes.
Good. You come out, so you're just a half a block away, so you're able to get into the car. You came out together, is that right?
That's correct.
And you both got into the car together. Were you driving?
Yes.
And then what happened?
Well, then I leave her in the corner because I was going to go back to get more clothes for her and for me.
Just a second. So now you're in the car.
Okay. Yeah, we're driving away, and as soon as we hit the first corner, I told her, just wait for me right here, because I already knew they had problems mainly between them, right?
Yeah, so now you're a block away, a block and a half away.
Yeah, I leave
and
her.
you tell her, wait in the car.
No, I tell her, wait for me right here in the corner. I'm going to go and drive up.
Oh, so you drop her off.
Yes.
Right. Just a minute, you drop her off alone on the street at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And say to her, you wait here, I'm going back to get some clothes.
Yes.
Right? Go ahead. And that's when the police stop you?
Yes.
Well,
And I
she
was-
says no, you say yes.
After
Which one
he
is
went back.
Well, when I went back, after I dropped her off, when I went back to get the
parked.
clothes, and I was barely parking, and I was
that's
barely
when-
going to get off my car, that's when the police just got me right there.
Listen, I don't know what the police did with your complaint, but there are more holes in this story than Swiss cheese. As far as I'm concerned, you have no case for false arrest. I believe she saw you fooling around with the neighbor's garage. She may not have been able to prove a burglary, but certainly the story that you just told me is such a fairy tale. It's such a fairy story. Makes absolutely no sense to me at all. No sense at all. The Whistler doesn't make any sense. The trip to Torrance doesn't make any sense. The leaving your house in the middle of the night to go to your children because she was smoking cigarettes and acting suspicious doesn't make any sense. It all doesn't make any sense. And if it doesn't make any sense, it's not true. Your case for false arrest is dismissed. That's all. Step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They've made threats against my family. Death threats, threats to beat my mom up with a bat.
She basically got away with another false accusation.
Police have talked to the owner several times to let them know that we are having significant problems with them.
As far as her getting us out, she already got us kicked out, but I guess we'll just have to see later on what happens.
I prayed for justice and, whatever.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Alvarez versus Burgos. Step forward.
Store owner Daniel Alvarez is suing his customer, Carmen Burgos, for cashing a counterfeit check at his store. Carmen says she was the victim of an internet scam.
Mr. Alvarez, what kind of store do you have, sir?
I have a general store. We sell music, we cash checks, we sell satellite. It's a little bit of everything.
The defendant was a customer of yours?
A regular customer. She had been there at least 4 or 5 occasions cashing checks.
And you charge a fee for that?
Yes, we do.
According to your complaint, sir, she came in with a check, which you cashed for her.
Correct.
And it turned out to be a bad check.
Yes.
And your bank withdrew the money from your account. You want her to compensate you for the check.
That is correct.
Ms. Burgos says it was a bad check. She was conned with this check, and she's sorry that you're out the money, but it's not her fault. It's the fault of the people who scammed her. That's her defense. Is that correct?
Yes,
Ms.
Your
Burgos?
Honor. I shouldn't
So
be
I want
held
you to
liable
tell
for it.
What?
I shouldn't be held liable for it because I had
Ms.
the
Burgos.
evidence. Yes.
Let's start from the beginning. Where did you get this check from?
It was mailed to me.
From an employer?
No, I'm always on the computer and I'm always filling out sweepstakes and filling out numbers for lotto on that. So when I received the check...
So you received the check because you thought you won a prize?
Yes, correct.
But she didn't tell me that, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Don't interrupt her.
I'm sorry.
Your Honor, he wasn't there at the moment.
Listen to me.
Yes.
You got a check in the mail and you didn't know where it came from.
Correct. Yes, I thought
So
it was
you
a
thought
sweepstake.
maybe you won a prize that you had played around with on the computer.
Yes, correct.
You have a copy of the letter?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Well, I have a copy because I gave Mr. Alvarez the original and the
Right.
envelope dedicated.
Shh. Mr. Alvarez, I don't want you to interrupt her.
That's the original. That is the original. Cool.
And I also gave him the envelope payment.
Now, this letter says that you won the North American Ballot Sweepstakes.
Correct.
And it tells you to call Debbie Baum in Canada.
Yes, Your Honor, and that's who I called.
Just for my own information, when you called her, what is it that you claim she said to you?
Well, I called her because at first I, like...
Joe, tell me. Just answer my question.
I asked her about that I had received a check for a sweepstake for the sum of $2,900. And she told me yes, and I told her what it says here for processing. She goes, oh, no, that's no problem. You could go ahead and change. That's part of what you have won. There's 72 people that are in
I
with
read the
it
letter.
too.
There's 72 people that are going to share in $1.8 million.
Right, and that's just the beginning of it, so you could go ahead and cash it.
Cash
So
it.
that's right.
Fine.
I went to
Do you have a
Mr.
copy of the check?
Yes, I have
I'd
the
like
original.
to see it. Oh, you have the original?
Yes.
Love
the
to
bank
see it.
returned it to me.
Love to see it. So you took the check into him?
Yes, correct.
To cash?
Yes. Like I've taken other checks.
State Employees Credit Union of Maryland, Inc. Well, I have to tell you, this certainly looks like, to my untrained eye, an official kind of check.
Correct. That's why I went to him and I cashed it.
Miss Burgos, I got it. You thought you woke up and it was your lucky day?
Yes, correct.
Bird, take a look at this. An interesting looking check? Right?
Even says official check.
It even says
Correct.
official
That's
check.
why I never-
And, just a minute, And they don't even ask you to do anything, like
Correct,
send them
that's
back
why-
half in this letter.
That's why I was like...
Don't, I'm speaking. Don't bother me. They don't even ask you to send back half. You know, sometimes say, send us $500 as a processing fee, and they just say, here's your $2,900.
Does he need it back?
Yeah, she signed it, and it came back that it was suspected counterfeit. In any event, you gave her the money.
Yes, I did.
You have proof of that?
Just from the bank when they took the money out because...
I'd like to see it. Now, when you were notified by the bank,
Right.
yeah, they charged your account for $29.50.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when did you cash the check for her? On what date?
Around the 14th of November.
And the bank returned the check to you when?
They didn't return it until the 20th or 21st, but they notified me 2 days later.
So
First they
on the
notified me.
16th.
Correct.
And when did you
I'm sorry, Your Honor,
notify?
it was after that.
Stop talking out! This is not a tea party! Now, when did you notify Miss Burgos?
That same day.
On the 16th, 2
exactly.
days later.
Exactly.
How did you notify her?
I called her son-in-law because I know her son-in-law very well, and I called him up and I asked him to bring her over.
And when did he bring her over?
That same day.
On the 16th?
Exactly.
Okay, now tell me on the 16th what you said to her and what she
I
said.
told her, Miss Burgos, this check has returned counterfeit from the bank.
And she said to you?
I didn't know, and she produced this letter.
Good.
Correct. I said I
Just-
didn't know.
So why didn't you return the money to him?
At the moment, I didn't have the money. I had paid some of debts that I had.
Just
So
a second. What difference does that make to him? Put your hand down. First of all, it's 2 days later.
It's not 2 days later, Your Honor. It was more than 2 days
How
later.
many days?
It was about 4 or 5 days later.
4 days later.
Correct.
Show me what debts you paid.
Well, I had some medical bills that I had to pay, so I went.
Just a second. So you paid your medical
Sure.
bills.
I
Medical
was
bills.
like-
What else? What else
I
did you
paid
pay?
my electric bill, my phone bill, all my bills, and I
Now,
had
let me
a
ask
few-
you this question, Ms. Burgos. Before you came into this cash windfall, how did you pay your electric bill?
Well, I would pay it monthly.
From what?
From what I receive and also
What do you
my
mean from what you
children's-
receive? I don't understand that statement. Do you
You know,
work?
I get a Social Security check every month.
For what?
For disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
For asthma, arthritis.
You have asthma and arthritis and you can't work?
No.
I know a lot of people who have asthma and arthritis who can work just fine.
I was diagnosed with disability. So I...
Wait, just a second. When were you diagnosed with a disability from asthma and arthritis?
2 years ago.
Ms. Burgos, I'm believing less and less of what you tell me, madam, but I will tell you this. If you paid your bills, which you are responsible for paying, your medical bills, your electric bill, your phone bill, and I don't care what other kind of bills you paid, allegedly, and I know
And
you're
also I
lying.
bought
Listen
a
to
few-
me, and I know you're lying anyway.
You know, I bought
Listen
a few
to me.
Christmas
Listen to me
presents,
very
yes.
carefully, and I know you're lying anyway. Then you have to pay him back the money.
Correct.
You paid your bills. You paid your bills. You're a scammer.
She told me
Let me
right
ask you this question. Who do you live with?
I live with my son and my daughter.
How old are they?
My daughter's 22 and my son is 19.
And what does your daughter do for a living?
She works. And my son
your
also.
son?
He works.
Works.
They're the ones that help me with all the bills.
Because you don't work?
Yes.
Because of your asthma?
Yes.
She didn't tell me that. That day when she came in, she told me that she had only spent about $500 to $700
No, I told you that's
of
what
the
I
money.
had.
Miss Burgos,
I had $500
Miss
to
Burgos.
I
$700.
asked her specifically.
That's what I
and
told
so-
him I had.
Did you give it to him?
Because he told me...
So why did you spend that money instead of giving it back to him?
Well, I didn't have it on me at that time.
Why didn't you go home and get it?
The gentleman told me, Mr. Alvarez told me that he was going to send that letter, the letter from that they had
That is
received
not
to
true.
the bank. Yes, it is, Mr. Alvarez.
Just
that
a second.
he was going
So
to take
what?
that
If
letter
there's a
to
question,
the
listen
bank.
to me. If there's a question, why didn't you say, listen, if there's a question and if this check was bad, I don't want Mr. Alvarez to be out the rest of this money. I'm going to hold what I haven't spent and give it to him if he's out of pocket.
Well, I had held it. I had it.
So
and
why
when-
didn't you give it to him?
Because when I spoke to Mr. Alvarez on the phone, I told him I have the $500. He says, no, I want all the money. That's what he said.
That is
and I
true?
says, well, I don't have all the money at the moment, okay? I could give you at least $500 at a time. He said, no, I want all the money at the same
You want to know
time.
something? You're a scammer.
It was-
You've been scamming
no.
Social Security in all probability for the
No, I
last 2
haven't.
years.
I don't know how you got Social Security disability. How old are you?
I'm 47.
47. I know people who are 67 with asthma, they work.
Oh, I am disabled.
You must have got a really, really fine lawyer. You owe him $2,950, Miss Burgos. You're a scammer, and you knew you did the wrong thing as soon as he told you that check came back.
Yes.
People very rarely get windfalls of money from the internet. Very rarely. Don't look like this to me.
I'm not a scammer because
I don't know how I got Social Security disability. I don't know where I got this check from. I don't know. Well, now you know that this man who was doing you a favor cashed your check and got penalized because of your stupidity. He got penalized. But you said, listen, I got the money. Let him go after the people. Let him go after. I'm speaking.
No, I didn't.
Let him go after the
think
people.
That way. I did not think that way.
Well, then you should have returned the money that you hadn't spent.
Okay, he didn't want the money that I had not spent.
So you spent the rest. Just a second. Hey,
I still have the $500.
You're supposed to set an example, Miss Burgos, for your children. You're not supposed to be a scammer.
I'm not a scammer.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you believed in getting something for nothing.
No,
and you put him in a very precarious position. You've got a lot of nerve.
I've never.
You've got a lot of nerve. Your children should not. Your children are not going to be proud of you after today. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,950. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
I don't think it was right because I am not a scammer.
At first, I believe her because she was real nice about it.
I don't have a bank account, but I'm not a scammer.
After a while, she didn't return my calls.
I didn't do this intentionally.
Very scared that I will not get my money back.
If I would have known it was a bad check, I would have never gone there.
I didn't feel I should have to be penalized for her being victimized.
They receive something in the mail, a check or something, never cash it. It's a scam.
Very, very careful. I don't think nothing gives you anything for free.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Simpson. Step forward.
25-year-old Leah Miller is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old waitress Angelica Simpson, for her share of the furniture purchased for their apartment.
Miss Miller, you and Miss Simpson were friends and roommates for a while. You claimed that when she moved out, she took half the furniture in the apartment that you had both purchased on a credit card.
Correct.
You are stuck with the credit card, and she took half the furniture.
Correct.
Ms. Simpson says she did not take half the furniture.
Correct.
She only took a bed, bed, and she left items there that are worth far more than the bed that she took. Now, when did you move in together?
February of 2005.
Was it a one-year lease?
It was actually 15 months.
And when did you move out?
I left the last weekend in January.
And that was by agreement?
Correct.
When did you purchase the furniture?
February of 2005.
What did you purchase?
She purchased a bedroom set. I purchased a bedroom set.
When you say she purchased a bedroom set and you purchased one, were they purchased on two different credit cards or one credit card?
No, they did a joint account for both of us. So we were both liable for it.
Okay. Continue.
I also purchased a living room set, and she purchased her bedroom set, which included a bed, a dresser, an end table, a mattress. I purchased the same thing, plus a living room set, which included a couch, a coffee table, an ottoman, and a love seat.
Okay, go ahead.
One night, I came home, and I saw her and her friends playing quarters on my brand new coffee table. I confronted her about it.
When you say you purchased the living room furniture,
yes,
were you jointly paying the bill with her?
We had separated her cost from my cost, and we came up with an agreement that she would pay me $60 a month for her portion, and then I would pay the rest.
She only has responsibility for the bedroom furniture.
Correct.
And that's all that you're suing for.
Well, also, as the time went on, as we were living together, I found things missing from my room.
I don't care about things missing from your room.
Well, I had to purchase a lock to put on there, and I came home with her playing games on my...
Listen to me. I don't care if you had to put a lock on your room. I read it. You had to put a lock on your room for $2?
It was actually 15. Yeah.
In the scheme of things, you're talking about nothing.
Well, I had shirts, underwear I had missing from my room.
Good. I'm not bothering with that.
Yeah. Okay.
You had other people living there, other people staying there, other people staying over. Don't bother me with nonsense. You hear about furniture.
Well,
don't throw in the kitchen sink to a lawsuit because judges get irritated, especially this one.
Okay. How much was your bedroom furniture?
The whole set together was around $1,300. It was like $1,300 and some change. Actually, Your Honor, I have evidence that hers was $1,412. That would be including the tax, probably.
$1,412. And how much of that did you pay, Ms. Simpson?
I started paying her when I moved out. Like I said, I left a TV there that I had purchased for $500. There's also entertainment center, dishes, mirrors, things of that nature that were there that I had left there that I didn't take.
Just a second. Did you have, Ms. Simpson, any agreement?
Yes.
Listen, you're not letting me finish my sentence. Did you have an agreement with Miss Miller that in lieu of